High School Slumber Party is brought to you by the Cage Club Podcast Network. For all things Cage Club related, head on over to cageclub.me. That's cageclub.me.
School is out and it's Friday night. I'm all wrapped up and I feel alright. Hello out to Malibu. This is all we wanna do. I'm at the high school, baby, young, young. I'm at the high school, baby, young, young. I'm at the high school, baby, young, young. I'm at the high school. I'm at the high school. I'm at the high school.
Welcome again, fans of Corey Haim, fans of Corey Feldman, fans of Lifetime movies. This is High School Slumber Party, the podcast where me and some friends look back at our teenage years through the lens of some iconic high school-centric films. I'm Brian Rodriguez, and the party's at my place this evening. But first, school's still in session, and we have some homework to chat about.
This was your assignment, and I would like to see the results.
Happy Pride, everyone. As you can tell, my voice is in rainbow colors right now because that's what every corporation does these days. There's a big debate on the internet, right? Like, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? I know a lot of people are upset about it on both sides, honestly. But hey, at least there's an acknowledgement. At least there's a dialogue. And at the end of the day, happy Pride overall. Because it's an awesome time of year, and it's awesome time to acknowledge people of the LGBTQ community. Just because we're celebrating doesn't mean you don't have homework, of course. And your homework, as always, every week is hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. And of course, while you're there, leave a positive review. Leave a 5-star rating. And if you're not there, maybe you're listening on the flagship, cageclub.me. That's cageclub.me, the home of so many other great pop culture podcasts, including Too Fast, Too Forever, Third Time's a Charm, The Monsters That Made Us. What am I missing? Monkey Club? No, I'm kidding. Of course, we had a great podcast debut, and if you did your homework and listened to the last episode of High School Slumber Party, you know exactly what I'm talking about. How to win the lottery. Bobby Fischer, not the chess player, the person, and Joey Lewandowski host this new show about books that you should read. Do it. Listen to the episode. I listened to the first episode. It was great. Keep listening. You'll feel smarter if you do it. I feel like Bobby Fischer is to Joey Lewandowski as Kate Hudson is to me. Every time I say that our guest, Kate Hudson's coming on, I get one person who thinks it's like the actual Kate Hudson, like the celebrity Kate Hudson. I wonder if some chess enthusiasts will get excited to be like, has Joey resurrected the ghost of Bobby Fischer to be on this podcast? Who the hell knows? Anyway, check out How to Win the Lottery. That's another piece of your homework. And as I mentioned, have you been listening and doing your homework and listening to the Corey movies we've been talking about, because they've been great. Last time, I always say last week, I forgot we're bi-weekly. Last time, Monday, we did The Goonies, a classic movie, a Corey Feldman movie. Jordan Poland Clark was with us. Mike Manzi, of course, was with us. He's here again today because he is our Corey expert. And today is the final day, at least this year, of our Corey lap, our Corey series, Corinthians 1. That'll make sense once you listen to today's episode. And the aforementioned episode today is a Lifetime movie. Neither Corey is in it, but it's about them. A tale of two Coreys. I'm so excited to talk this one. I'm so excited for you guys to listen to the episode on this one. And you know it. I said Lifetime movie, so you know who is here. Joe 2 of Too Fast, Too Forever, our Lifetime expert. Oh boy, this is a good one. Whoa, whoa, whoa. The bell does not dismiss you, ladies and gentlemen. I dismiss you. While that bell was ringing, though, I kind of think something I said might have been taken out of context. I don't think anyone says pride is controversial. Of course not, or at least I hope not. We're in 2021, for God's sakes. I think the debate online has been about these companies that are just co-opting Pride. Remember, the original Pride was a riot, the Stonewall riot here in my city, New York City, a riot. Most of the people participating in it were gay people of color, you know? And for some people to see, how can I put it, like Bethlehem Steel with a rainbow logo, stuff like that, Union Carbide. I don't know if these companies even exist anymore. You know what I mean. The big corporations. I get how it can rub people the wrong way. So that's what I meant. I love Pride, though, and happy Pride once again. You probably didn't need me to explain all that, but I feel like I had to. Anywho, let's get to the movie today. A Tale of Two Coreys. I do want to give somewhat of a disclaimer about this film. It's a Lifetime film, and we have a lot of fun. It does deal with some serious, fucked up subjects, and I just want to confirm we're not laughing at what's happening. It's very, very sad what's happening to the Coreys in this movie. But Lifetime, as we explain, it's just such a different genre that you can't help but have a little fun talking about it. You'll see why. I know that sounds so bad, but I have to put some kind of disclaimer. And also, we're not making fun of Corey Feldman and Corey Haim. I actually think both these Coreys are awesome. If you've been doing your homework and listening to our episodes, we say nothing but great things about their acting. It's not their fault what happened to them. Hollywood did a terrible thing to them and an entire generation of child stars. It is depressing. There's tons of documentaries about it. I talk about Kid 90 in this. Watch that over the weekend. It was super, super cool. Definitely check out Kid 90. But yeah, it really influenced my opinion on this film as well. So yeah, that's my disclaimer. It gets a little weird, but kind of had to be their moment. But if you did your homework and watched A Tale of Two Coreys on Lifetime, you'll get exactly what I'm saying. So I'm going to leave you with something that's really silly. There's a theme song to this movie, and I could not find it on the internet, so I just took the words out of the trailer and like kind of smashed the parts of the theme song together. So it's going to sound weird, but I hope you get, what the vibe of the film is. So pack your favorite jammies, tell your mother you're sleeping at Brian's, because we're about to get our party on. Class dismissed.
Big dreams, bright lights, that's Hollywood. Shine bright, that's Hollywood. Will you kiss? Have everything.
Where did you learn to do that?
Michael Jackson.
Ooh.
Just when you get it all, it's much better fall in Hollywood.
Can we just
Doctor here.
World, you and I, we can have it all.
Mike, we've made it here. We've made it to the end of year one of our 2 or 3 year Corey's lap, or no, again, they're not laps. Series,
They can be laps.
Corey-a-thons.
Yeah. Retrospective, I'm not sure, but
Oh, I like that.
I need a
like
bit-
that.
Can it be like Corinthians 1?
ooh, that's
That's
hot.
cool too.
I think I need
Corinthians.
a little Corey rehab after this episode, though, and some little
Oh,
time
yeah.
off.
Oh yeah. Well, this was a great way to end season 1 of our Corey's thing, because this was a recap done in the most beautiful way possible. A Lifetime film. We're talking A Tale of Two Coreys today, and of course, we have our Lifetime expert here, Joe 2. You've heard his voice already. Welcome back to High School Slumber Party. We've talked a decent amount, but we haven't talked a Lifetime film in a while, so I'm excited to have you
No.
back for that.
I'm really excited, and this is something I wouldn't have normally brought to you, but you got like the rare Lifetime biopic, right? Like the actual like almost documentary Lifetime movie. Like we've done like the Fab Five, which is like based on it, but like you didn't get like the actual thing. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm very excited that you're here as well. I think this is the first time we might, aside from like our crossover episodes, that we've both been on together, and I've been waiting to be on one of these Lifetime episodes. So it's like,
Really?
yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to, like, Joe's already dropped some knowledge about Lifetime movies. You know, the whole like this is a biopic kind of situation, and mostly they just seem to be sort of ripped from the headlines or something. Not that this wasn't a big headline, you know, for their whole lives and stuff, but it's just very fun to be here with a Lifetime movie kind of retrospective.
So let's dive in then. But Mike, I think what you're on, this might be your 9th episode in a row or
Yeah.
something like that. So
And we're still going to prom this year. It's like crazy.
So do the honors, introduce yourself first,
Yes.
and then Joe.
Mike Manzi, RHS, class of 97. Go Maroons, but go Corys as well.
The Fighting Corey.
Yeah, I wish.
God. Joe 2, the Pittsburgh Central Catholic High School, class of 07, Roll Vikes.
So, as our Lifetime expert, Joe, you were hitting something that I really wanted to get into. There are these different kinds of Lifetime movies, as we've seen, even talking about on the show. But
Yeah.
this is a genre that we haven't touched on this show, which is the celebrity ripped from the headline story. I've seen that it exists. I haven't seen too many with my own eyes, but like occasionally, you know, you're flipping through channels, you'll see a commercial for, oh, remember that celebrity that died 2 years ago? Here's the Lifetime movie.
Yes.
So I have seen one of them ever, and it
What was it?
the Brittany Murphy story. I don't know what it was called, but it was about Brittany Murphy. And again, it just happened to be on, and I had it on in the background, typical Lifetime, and this was many years ago. And that's the only one I've really seen, but I've seen a lot of commercials for other ones. So I was excited to talk about this one. And in doing my research of like, what should we cover for when we want to talk about the Coreys? When this popped up, I'm like, oh, we got to end the season with this because
It was a
I don't
good
know.
pick.
There's just so much magic here. So if you want to know Joe's history with Lifetime, listen to all our other Lifetime episodes we've covered. But I got to ask, because I've been asking all the guests on this lap, what is your history with the two Coreys? Were you familiar with them at all? Have you seen one Corey more than the other? Neither of them?
No, I mean, like, I think my only real history that I remember with the two Coreys is, like, seeing Corey Feldman on TV maybe in, like, the early 2010s, and, like, possibly, like, a celebrity rehab type situation. Like, I know his face from stuff. Like, I guess it was probably around the time of the end of this movie where he was, like, doing reality TV or something and trying to, like, re-get back into it. But maybe like VH1, like I Love the 90s or something like that. Like maybe he was on like a bunch of those. But like no, I've never seen Lost Boys. I'm not even a huge Goonies fan, so like I don't have that going for me. So like also while I was watching this was kind of like a new story to me. So I had like no idea of like the history of the two Coreys. So like watching it live, I was like, oh shit, and I was like, I can't Google like what happens because like I'm pretty sure this other Corey's gonna die, and and I was right.
Not to laugh at it, but it just like for us too, Mike and myself, we've been watching all these Corey movies. Originally, I didn't think there were this many, and that's why
Yeah.
now we're gonna do like laps of 3 years of them. But this movie is such sad validation for a lot of like hypothesis. I don't know the plural of that we've had in our discussions here. And just to recap, Joe, like Mike's a Corey loyalist. He saw a lot of these movies in theaters. It's true.
No, it is. I like probably like
Did
the
you purposely?
Yeah, like
or was it just like
the complete opposite of like your experience probably, whereas like they were very much like in step with my progression through puberty. Like they were you know what I'm saying, like their phases
yeah.
matched up with my phases and stuff. They're a little older than I am, but like still I was their target audience for sure, and I feel like it worked on me for the most part, right? I became a loyal Lifetime fan of theirs, even to like today, I guess, to the point where I'm strong-armed Brian into this series at the beginning. So yeah, that's not a lie. Yeah.
that's really cool.
I was a little less familiar than Mike. I didn't go to the theaters or anything like that. I rented some of the movies, but I was with you, Joe. Like they first came on my radar when they were jokes. It was like I Love the 80s had a segment like about them, and then like you said, they were in like The Surreal Life and shows like that, or Feldman at least. So like this has been such a cool journey and an interesting journey and just like a sad journey at the same time, a really sad journey.
Terribly sad. Yeah.
Well,
based on this movie. Wow.
Yeah. We do have to remember though, like this is still like heavily filtered through like a lot of different lenses.
Oh, for sure.
You know, for the most part too, like it's that Lifetime movie lens that isn't exactly
Yes.
reliable in the first place. Let's just say that, right? Or you know,
have to make it as is tradition with a Lifetime movie. This has to be terrifying for a mother.
right.
Okay, that's like the first way we have to pitch this movie. Like they got the nostalgia on it, right? Because like that might make sense. Like she might remember her kids going to see the movies or like remember them because I always assume that the Lifetime viewer is a woman that's about a decade or two older than me, probably even older than that. Yeah, so like they would know who these people are, but then also like being a child actor would be terrifying because everybody's constantly getting raped. And then
the drugs, like the crazy amounts of drugs. And they see this today too. Like this is like a cycle that is still happening. You know what I mean? So like there's plenty of I mean, Tom Holland seems to have his head on screwed right, but like it might be the exception, like
Britney.
out there. Yeah, Britney. Yeah.
We had like all those things too. So
good call about the the mom factor, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, that's the filter that it has to go through. So like they need to make it terrifying for a mom that has a young kid that might want to be a child actor, or just terrifying for a mom in general. Just like the world is a scary place. That's a common theme we see here.
Yeah. Like these could be your kids, like your little Corey.
Yeah, and like they were in Canada. And then, like, they went to the big city of L.A. It's like, it's not New York this time, it's L.A., but also terrifying, and this is what's going to happen.
And also, Corey Haim, R.I.P., no longer with us, didn't, have any input on this movie, right? So, like, there's a lot of, like, Corey Feldman, I feel like he's, like, all over this, right? Like, not that he's trying to make Haim look bad, but he's definitely trying to make himself look better. Like it feels more like the Corey Feldman kind of like got sucked into it by Corey Haim movie. It's weird.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Mike, it's something we've learned while talking about all these movies with just like the trivia and facts and all these things. Unfortunately, like the living write history and the dead,
the winners write history, right? So
yeah, I mean, not that there's they were
winner,
in slight competition, but yeah, no, exactly. So almost everything we're getting today is filtered through Corey Feldman, who a lot of people say is an unreliable narrator, and we'll definitely talk about that. But you're absolutely right. This isn't like an equal to Corey's story.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't look good either, right? Like, I'm not saying like he's squeaky clean or anything, but like just the general tone of like his side of it seems. Like,
I wasn't doing anything
wrong like
until he started smoking weed.
like Feldman's the victim. Right, yeah.
Every week, I try to read back a VHS, DVD. Of course, this is that kind of movie. I'll just go on like Lifetime.com or something, and this is what it said on.
The other cool thing about this is this had to be in like an event, right? Like every Lifetime movie is kind of like an event. Like we talked about, like they have like a month of cheerleader things or something like that. This was like the two Corey's event. Because after this played like Corey Feldman Uncensored or something. So like they were doing like a Corey's event on Lifetime at this time.
Similar
just
to us.
Just for context. Yeah.
That also reminds me, Mike, and the whole mom thing, right? I know you're not a mom, obviously, but like I'm sure there are people you grew up with who are moms today who grew up with the Coreys like you who watch this and be like, I'm not plugged in enough to know who the Justin Bieber of today is. I'm sorry. But there is a Justin Bieber of today that their kids are watching, that they're looking with a weary eye. Like,
those Nazi YouTubers, right? Like PewDiePie and those crackheads. And like those fuckers, right? Yeah.
You're right, yeah. But we just don't even know them. Like, we're not even tapped into, like, their realm.
Right. Totally oblivious. Completely.
So Lifetime.com did not have like a good little summary of this. It was more about like the making of. So I'll read it anyway, though. Filmed earlier this year, so they didn't update the website.
Of course not.
What year was that? 2017? 2018?
2018, yeah. Lifetime will premiere an original movie, A Tale of Two Coreys, On January 6, 2018. So it was shot in 2017. Executive produced by Corey Feldman, the movie is based on a true story of the rise and fall of the 80s phenomenon, the two Coreys. Actors Corey Feldman and Corey Haim. And for the record, yes, Corey Feldman is a producer here. He's one of the writers, but if you look at IMDb, he's one of like 10 writers, which is interesting.
Wow.
He hasn't disowned the movie, but he has said it was very much a whitewashing of what actually happened. But I don't know what he expected.
He was trying to make a dark, gritty Lifetime Corey's
Well,
movie.
they left out
I kinda wanna
Corey's
see that.
angels. They left out his angels at the end of this. I'm sure he wrote those in as a big part, but I mean, that's interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of ground to cover, and if he's there as a source, tap it. You know what I mean? Like, who would at least, maybe, like you said, he might not be the most reliable narrator, he might be conflating things, deflating stuff, but like it's his life, he was there. Like,
He was
let's
at least
talk
there.
to him. Yeah. Like, I feel like he should have been involved. I mean, it's weird because you wouldn't if you made like a Britney one, they wouldn't consult Britney, but that's like a different level. I don't know. It's, you know what I'm saying? Now we're starting to like figure out how to navigate celebrity and status and like who would be involved in their own Lifetime movies. But it just seems like, by the end of watching this, you're like, yeah, it makes sense that Corey Feldman would want to like sort of hold on to the spotlight as long as possible and like be involved in a movie about himself coming out on Lifetime kind of situation.
That's the weird tongue-in-cheek thing about this is like they
Yeah.
include all that end part where he's like, oh man, like I have to make reality TV shows, like I'm trying to make a comeback, like can I get a real movie? And then he also is a writer on this movie. Like, isn't Lifetime movies like the whole, when he's talking
Yeah.
about like doing Hollywood Squares and he's like, that's for like washed up people, like isn't writing a Lifetime biopic about yourself like pretty much the end of the line for you, bud?
It's just kind of weird.
You know what I thought was funny? They didn't even let him play himself.
No!
His own
Yes!
age right now.
But that's the thing. Like, who goes that far? Like who's gonna play themselves? And like, okay,
I think you should send it. If it gets this silly, like that's even more fun. Like,
guess.
do it.
I guess so. But like that brings me to something I was gonna like recommend later at the end of the show. But like, there was a Deadly Adoption where like Kristen Wiig and Will Ferrell made a Lifetime movie, and it was completely tongue in cheek, kind of like you don't want to start getting into that water with this
Almost
kind
parody.
of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you still need a bit of like a separation. Otherwise, like I can't pay attention. If it's Corey Haim playing himself at like age 12.
Fair. Oh, no, not that.
That would have been awesome. That's my dream of what this movie could have been. Oh.
So, Mike, just to correct you on one point, when I did a little bit of research, when they do try to make these celebrity Lifetime movies, they will try to get someone in the family to just like sign off on it for one, legal reasons, and two, it's a better selling point, right? Like, the widow of blah 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 like signed off on it, and she's here as a producer. Meanwhile, the problem, like, I'm not reading between the lines. Well, but okay, I'll do it. But there are some celebrities that they do movies on, like biopics on, and I'm sure they're throwing cash at just so they can get their seal of approval.
Yeah, like the Anna Nicole Smith story, right? Like that whole tragedy and everything. However, like it's a money-making scheme, you know what I mean? To like exploit that name and everything. So that's sort of the level you get to with some of these family members. Maybe it's kind of funny. It's like, oh, we didn't have the rights to the Matt LeBlanc story, so like we contacted his third uncle's brother, like son, and like he signed off on it or something.
And this one, in terms of production, I was a little disappointed because, Joe, we've done this, and I love clicking the director and seeing like what else did the director do.
Yeah.
This is a weird one where like this is the only Lifetime movie this director has done, and he doesn't direct a lot of things. He directs like a lot of video game stuff.
Okay.
Like cutscenes?
No, like shows about video games.
Shows about
like
video
like
games?
Game Makers, or like what was that, Game Shakers on Nickelodeon? What, like the
Like
Mortal Kombat?
IGN.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. This is like a complete. Nobody sounds bad, so I don't want to say that. But it's like someone with a big Lifetime track record.
Hallmark. We get a lot of Hallmark crossover usually.
Oh, okay. There's a lot of like in-house people.
Yeah, it's like they did like 16 Christmas movies in like 2 years, and then that's it. in
Yeah,
Canada.
exactly. Exactly, and that's always fun. So that's not here. So I wonder, how they found this guy. His name is, just for anyone out there, or maybe he's listening himself. Very curious because he does a lot of editing too. It looks
Right.
like he does a
It looks like
writing.
he's known for directing 2012's Prom Night. Could that be true? Are we going to be seeing him again soon, Brian? Oh my God,
What?
he's one of two directors for Prom Night 20.
No, no. It's
Oh,
in a
that's a
short.
3 minute short. Oh my God,
Yeah,
my
it's a
heart
3 minute
almost just
short.
fucking jumped out of its
Wow.
chest. You have no idea how fast they almost bailed.
Oh, it's like, what? How did I miss that? No. Yeah, his name is Stephen Huffaker. So, Stephen, if you're out there, hit us up.
Right in. Yeah.
Yeah.
The cast is even more mysterious as well. Like, there was a couple people I recognized. Elijah Marcano plays young Corey Feldman, and Justin Ellings plays young Corey Haim. Looks like this Elijah Marcano fellow is in like more stuff as an actor, but the young Corey Haim is known more as a stunt person, which I found was interesting.
Weird. Okay.
Really?
Interesting.
I lost it when they did the casting change for the time jump. Like, that was
Yes, me
brilliant.
too. Me too. I was like, damn. So, budget wise, like we talk about this, you were saying you weren't like too stoked in the production, but like budget wise, this is a pretty big budget Lifetime movie. You had like multiple ages of the same character that we didn't just like pretend were older. I was pretty surprised by this.
Yeah, I don't want to.
sure.
I don't want to say it's like scattered with prestige by any means, but I recognized a bunch of character actors throughout this. Like mostly from like the comedy side of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
L.A. culture and stuff.
His
But,
dad, Corey
Yeah.
Haim's dad, is like that guy. I recognize him.
yeah, and Feldman's agent later is John Ennis from Mr. Show. I recognized him, and
Yeah. Brian Husky is the one who plays Corey Haim's dad. He's in a bunch of stuff. He was in Veep, and he's like equally a creeper in that show. So it's like it's like different here because he's just like a cool dad here. Which, Joe, you've taught me on Lifetime. Cool parents never get responsible kids. Like that.
No.
The two don't
No,
go.
absolutely not.
But Mike, we kind of talked about this a little bit off air. Keith Coogan,
Yeah.
High School Slumber Party legend, plays Marty, one of the child rapists. So
unbelievable in like the scene of the movie. I would say. He just
Joe, are
comes-
you familiar with Keith Coogan?
No, I don't know who this is. Who is it?
Okay.
So like look up Keith Coogan on your phone. He was also like when you were reading Tiger Beat or Teen Beat magazine back then, you were looking at the Haim pictures, you're looking at the Feldman pictures, and like the fourth or fifth picture would be Keith Coogan. Like he was
Yeah, yeah.
also starring in those kind of movies.
He wasn't quite
Oh.
Brat Pack, but he was like John Cryer, probably level status, at some
Oh,
point.
and he plays the chaperone that they like called in for like that one night that he like seduces a really stoned Corey Haim.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's in Adventures in Babysitting, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, 2 babysitting films I know. Kate Hudson loves him. That's one of her favorite like teen actors of her era. So it was just funny again to see like someone who probably was going through similar things
Very similar, I'm sure. Yeah.
be like, I'll be the rapist in this movie.
or maybe he was like,
One of them.
I knew that guy. Like, I could play that role. I mean,
It's possible too. I didn't know this guy's name, but we have to talk about this. The Michael Jackson character here, played by Brandon Howard.
My God. I did not know how much Michael Jackson was going to be a part of this movie.
crazy. It starts with Michael Jackson on TV, that famous Pepsi commercial.
But I thought we were just going to get that. Like, just like, hey, Michael Jackson was my inspiration. But, like, no. There is many, many times we see Michael Jackson and this guy playing Michael Jackson throughout this film.
Shows like that are for people at the end of their careers. You're just getting started.
He really wanted to let us know at one point he and Michael Jackson were friends.
Yes.
And they were. So in the movies, Joe, you'll notice a progression of Corey Feldman where he slowly starts becoming Michael Jackson and incorporating Michael Jackson moves into more and more of his movie roles. So it was interesting to see this here. Like, apparently they were
Yeah.
very close. We've
Yeah.
read a lot of things. There's been like conflicting points of when they met. Here, it looks like he showed up to a set or whatever.
Of the
and they
Goonies? Yeah.
But this guy, I mean, what'd you think of Brandon Howard's performance as Michael Jackson?
I think he did pretty decent. To play Michael Jackson has to be super hard, right? Because it's like, it's fucking Michael Jackson. Everybody knows who this is and stuff like that. And I was like, the soft-spokenness, like, that was a little played right for TV.
That's how he always talked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a little South Park, but at the same time, I was like,
Blanket.
yeah, that's. But I was like, he's not doing it injustice, right? Like it's
Yeah.
like it has to be hard to play Michael Jackson. So
And harder to play Michael Jackson as the voice of reason in the movie.
That's
Like,
that's what blew my mind. Was like it was logical. Michael Jackson with a head on his shoulders sort of situation. But here's okay. One thing is this: like, would people recognize that as Michael Jackson today instantly? I'm not entirely sure. He looks incredibly different than he did just 10 years ago or whatever, right? Like 10 years, 20 years, like he
yeah,
always changed the way he looks. So like I think to play this version of Michael Jackson, I think he did a great job. But like it just raised in my mind an interesting question. It was like I immediately right out of the gate was like, "Holy shit, Michael Jackson's like all over this." But like it needed to be spelled out. Literally, he comes on the set of Goonies, and Corey Feldman is like, "Are you Michael Jackson?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. This is just, I'm Michael Jackson from 1985, so that's why I look this way." It's like it had to sort of be said.
it did. It really, really did. Oh, yeah.
But other than that, I think he nailed it. I think he did great. I love the scene at Neverland where he's like, "I tried to talk to your dad, but he just wouldn't listen." It's like bullshit. Like Michael Jackson calls you up in 1990, and like the day before he dies, he calls you up. You're gonna do whatever the fuck he says. Believe me. Like it's Michael Jackson on the other line. Give me a break, Corey's dad.
Corey Feldman has gone to court to defend Michael Jackson, like in these kind of child sex cases.
Oh, did he? He said he
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
do it.
Right.
Oh,
yeah. He's had his
Only-
back like since day one, I think.
Only recently, like in the last 2 or 3 years, has he said, "I swear he didn't do anything. He never came on to me, but perhaps he was being a little creepy." Like only recently he said that.
Oh,
I think he realized in retrospect what most people did is that he was just more sort of like childlike. I think that was part of it, right? The whole Peter Pan.
but he was diddling
conflict
though.
thing.
I mean, come on, we knew he was diddling. Like there was.
I don't know. You don't know for sure. I don't know.
Look, but it's something, and this is a great thing to talk about because we're going to bring someone up a little bit later who is controversial in this film and as well, and where people have said different things about this person. Let's talk about just our favorite moments here, interesting stuff.
Okay.
And the first thing I'm going to say, I love the music in this. They use like sound-alikes of real music plus these like, I don't know, 80s-ish songs that like really get me into it. There's like a theme specifically for this. I don't know. Like in terms of like the production value there, I'm happy they did that. Even though again, I know the real musicians aren't singing these songs. I'm totally fine with it.
I mean, I love all Lifetime soundtracks, and they're always like a very interesting. Like Rachel just brought up about Kingpin Pimp the other day. We were talking about Take It Off, Take It All Off. So I mean, I don't think there was like original songs in this, like more scory, but yeah, I definitely always love the soundtracks too. You got to pay attention to those.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great way to sort of chart the years as well and tell the progression of time and stuff. But totally immersed me back in that age. I didn't even need the little title card that said 1984 because I feel like they did a really good job of selling all that kind of stuff.
And pre-meeting, we see a lot of stuff that Mike, you and I have talked about. Corey, he's first. Corey, yeah, Brian, pick which one. Corey Haim is having that Canadian, upbringing. We see Corey Haim's parents, and they seem a little bit more put together at
They
this
seem put
point.
together, yeah. Also, was his mom like Eastern European, or did
Oh.
they just like cast an Eastern European woman to
Yeah,
play her?
she
Her
just
accent
dropped her
kept coming in and out. Yeah,
She just dropped it by the end of the movie. I feel like they shot this in sequence, and at the end, she's like, "I just can't keep up this accent anymore." The French Canadian was coming through so hard.
Let's
Yeah,
see.
but
She
She seems like I got a feeling that she was more like a Russian bride to his dad.
That's weird.
'Cause that's the accent that I was getting, and I can't tell if it
Oh.
was the actress or his mom was supposed to be this, or what was going on.
I was getting more of like that sort of like a French vibe off her, to be honest. But that's interesting. You say more of like a European kind of Regardless, we both did not believe that she was playing like a North American, I guess we can say.
She was trying to do a Canadian accent at some points.
What is a Canadian accent, though? Honestly, no offense, aside from saying
There was
like,
not enough of Boots.
saying
in
A.
order to be Canadian. Yeah,
Say-
there wasn't
you can
any
tell.
of these.
You can hardly tell, though.
No,
I didn't
oh,
even
come
realize.
on.
I didn't even realize we were in Canada, Brian. I forgot, and
When
I
they-
thought we were in like
No,
Indiana.
oh
or
no, we don't
something.
hear it here, but there are very
Yeah,
clear
you could
Canadian
tell.
accents. Watch
Because
a
we
hockey
hear it
game.
in Lifetime movies that our Hallmark movies that we watch.
Watch a hockey game. Watch like SCTV characters, sure, but
Okay. Oh, yeah. I thought you were denying the existence of a
No,
Canadian
not
accent.
that it doesn't exist, but I'm just saying, like, for a Lifetime movie, like, I don't know. They
Well, a
needed
lot
to-
of them are shot.
Oh, okay, that
The
makes
Hallmark ones, yeah,
That would
are
make-
like
okay.
very Canadian.
I'm not trying to be confrontational about it. It just, for some reason, like, her accent
Being
coming
confrontational
up,
about a Canadian accent is the most un-Canadian thing you could have done, Mike.
just the fact that, like, it all just came from the fact that, like, I feel like the actress just totally dropped it by halfway
Yes,
through the
that's
movie.
the in and out. The in and out is what I was talking about.
She's European of some sort. I see like down credit things on her IMDb that are in a different language. So
Cool.
yeah, right on the money right there. She.
Okay.
I don't know. She
But was
looking
Corey
at-
Haim's mom like notoriously
No,
Eastern European?
No,
is what
no,
I was
no,
asking.
Not
No,
at
no,
all.
no,
Not
no.
at all. Not at
Okay.
all. It's just a Lifetime acting choice.
They're just definitely not Canadian because they did not apologize once for finding drugs in his room, and I was severely disappointed by this. They just brought him out and said, "Look what we found." They didn't say, "Sorry, I was in your room." Nothing.
It's true.
It was poking around.
It's pooking around. Yeah, exactly.
They both have elements of being stage parents, especially Feldman's mom,
Yeah.
who's just like into drugs and is just like, you work so I can pay for my
Dude,
drugs.
she's
Essentially.
she's amazing. Like, I want her movie. She's going to check out like Guns N' Roses that night. Like, it's
Oh,
that kind of
yeah.
vibe. And his dad is like, okay, so he's the guy from Boogie Nights that Mark Wahlberg played, but all grown up. Like, he's basically like that guy. Like, I love it. It's so funny.
Did his dad steal all of his money, by the way? Was this like a common known thing? Because he kind of excuses it here. Like, it might have been himself spending it all on cocaine. But it seems like his dad spent all of his money, right?
I think that's
Yeah.
the case.
I think it was more common than not that like parents would hold on to your money until you turned of age, unless you like took them to court and you know
Which he did,
which a lot of child actors I feel like ended up doing as well. And then like once you get to court, yeah, like your parents suck you dry for everything you got because they know you're just gonna end up making it back.
And unfortunately, that emancipation thing was something that these corrupt managers would push on them too, because it's like, oh, parents out of the way, now I can kind of weasel my way in. So it's not like, oh, I'm emancipated.
Both true.
Now I'm rich,
Yeah.
There's always like another leech there, unfortunately. Just early on, I do want to get into some of these film roles because we've talked about these movies in
yeah.
the last couple weeks. So on the Corey Haim side, they show his breakout in Lucas. And Mike, you and I have discussed how the character of Corey Haim on screen was supposedly very different than the character of Corey Haim
Yeah.
in real life.
Yeah.
And you see that here, right?
Oh, yeah.
So Joe, the two Corey's trope is that like Corey Haim was like more of like the nerdy, nice guy of the Coreys, and the Feldman was like the
Bad
best
boy.
friend who's kind
Yeah.
of pushing him to do the thing. Like
Right.
License to Drive, he's like, oh, first night out with your license, let's drive somewhere. Like that's Feldman asking Haim. But in real life, apparently it wasn't like that. And like I said, we see it here. And because even when he's on the set of Lucas, he's not exactly... He's a little more shy than he gets later, but he's not exactly like that character because he says like a line to Cary Green, which, by the way, Cary Green, Mike, noticed did not have red hair. in that
Yeah,
movie.
what's up with that?
Such bullshit. Such bullshit. Like, it's literally the scene from the movie.
And-
the
and
girl
no
has
one-
the brightest red hair you could think of. And they could not do that.
They couldn't cast a Carlos Estevez for one scene. We get like some guy with
Whoa.
his back turned that could be him, right?
Mike, but this is what I was going to get into.
Uh-oh, don't tell me this. Uh-oh.
No, at the point of this movie. So, little context here.
Yes.
Corey Feldman has claimed the first time he was raped. Sorry, the first time that Corey Haim was raped was on the set of Lucas.
Yes.
Corey Haim's mom claimed it was on the set of Friday the 13th, the final chapter, which we didn't talk about. I forgot to mention it, Mike.
Well,
so.
that was a Feldman movie, not a Haim movie. Though.
Sorry. One of the guys that Feldman worked with there
I see.
is apparently Corey Haim's rapist. It's a whole thing that, like, I think Corey Haim's mom blames a little bit of Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman says it's a whole convoluted
It happened
thing.
before I got here.
It's
Type of situation.
I don't know the answer to it. It's very confusing.
There's a lot of he said, she said kind of stuff.
Corey Feldman has claimed that Corey Haim's mom is the head of, like, an organization that's defending all these child rapists. I don't know how plausible that is.
Conspiracy, man. What the hell?
So point is, they released this movie and Corey Feldman was like, I cannot reveal his rapist yet. So when this came out, Mike, it was not revealed who that rapist accused was.
Okay.
It's because he was writing a book, and in the book, he claimed that Charlie Sheen, who's in Lucas, was Corey Haim's rapist.
Wow.
Really? Charlie Sheen?
Charlie Sheen has denied it. Corey Haim's mom, Corey Haim's sister have both emphatically said that it's absolutely not true. Most people have, like, defended Charlie Sheen, which is rare, but Corey Feldman says it's a conspiracy to, you know, not get this secret out, that Charlie Sheen is the person who initially raped Corey Haim. So, Mike, that's why I have to excuse them for not making someone look like Charlie Sheen there.
Yes, no, makes perfect sense now. Yep, I get it.
Because they didn't know and they couldn't, like, imply. If they implied that, they would have been sued before, like, Corey
For sure.
Feldman said anything.
Yeah, like I don't mean they should have implied that Charlie Sheen was the abuser. I'm just saying there's a scene where a bunch of extras are throwing a football around and one of them is supposed to be Cary Green, and I'm like, why couldn't one of those people be a Charlie Sheen or something? Like, that's more where I was sort of heading, but it makes sense that they wouldn't want him portrayed anywhere near this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If that was going on.
That's the reveal.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the dudes was, like, a Latin guy in, like, the in the shot, and there's definitely none of that.
Oh,
in
yeah,
Lucas.
and he's, like, you know, clearly in, like, his late 50s or something. I don't know.
The rapist guy, yeah.
Yeah,
So, I don't know.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like, oh, yeah, the extra that was playing football. Yeah, he wasn't anywhere in Lucas.
Yeah, either they didn't do their research or they didn't care on, like, the Lucas set. But that was, like, a big reveal here.
Heavy.
We got later. That's super heavy. So I wanted to segue quickly in terms of the Michael Jackson thing. Like, some people have defended him. Some people say he's a rapist. In terms of Charlie Sheen, I just saw Kid 90. Have either of you seen that on Hulu?
Oh,
yet?
the Soleil Moon Fry? Not yet.
Yeah, Soleil Moon Fry, Punky Brewster. When she was a kid from, like, 14 to, like, 20, essentially, she recorded everything on a camcorder. So they cut it together, and she talks about a lot of this. And she also saved all her voicemails ever.
Whoa.
How?
So it's
Like,
a
just
really
cassette
cool...
tapes?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Like, because, I mean, she didn't have a voicemail, so it was probably like...
Yeah. Sorry. So
Answering
machine tapes. Yeah,
tapes.
answering machine
Okay,
tapes.
cool.
Yeah. So they play a lot of them. They play a lot of this footage. And she actually lost her virginity to Charlie Sheen. First of all, she says he was the sweetest guy in the world. He used to take her to baseball games. And there's voicemails they play of him. And he sounds really compassionate and really nice. I'm not saying he couldn't have also raped Corey Haim. I'm not that naive. But it is just crazy to think about. And Corey Feldman, there's footage of him in Kid 90 as well. Like all these celebrities at the time. Brian Austin Green, people like that. But it just goes to show you that, like, A, either you just meet a different side of someone. And just B, I don't know who to trust.
I mean, and there's, like, a lot of drugs involved, so then it's, like, very messy.
For sure.
Like, once you involve drugs, like, I mean, I have stories that are just like, I don't remember any of what you just said to me because there was drugs involved. So, like, you could be telling the truth, you could not be telling the truth, and I was there. So I don't even know.
And, you know, not to go darker or anything beyond that, but, like, we don't actually know exactly what happened in that trailer. There could be bigger threats, right? Like, it could be like, you tell anybody about this, we'll kill your family kind of stuff. Like, this is Hollywood. This is, you know, super big money, powerful people kind of stuff, dealing with, like, a little scared kid sort of situation. So, like, yeah, you know, it's sort of beyond rational thinking sometimes. But
not knowing the story, I really thought in that scene when he's like, hey, like, have you ever, like, kissed a girl? I thought that he was gonna, like, show him how to, like, to force himself on her. Like
Oh,
when they went into
interesting.
the trailer, yeah, I thought that that's what they were like leading us to, because like I don't know the backstory. So when he's like, "Oh, like I'll show you how you do it," like
Yeah.
there's men and there's boys in this place,
See, as soon
and
as he
then
was like boys club, girls club, I was like, oh, that's like icky code for like, like boys only kind of stuff.
Let me let you in on a little secret about Hollywood. There's a girls' club, there's a boys' club. You want to be in the boys' club, don't you?
yeah, and then like he opened the trailer and I was like, "Oh no, no, no! I thought he was gonna convince him to force himself on the girl, not that he was gonna force himself on Corey."
We get into it fast in terms of like
In terms of everything,
their
everything.
children being
Dude.
raped and
Corey Feldman with a fucking gun in his mouth. Oh my god!
Instantly,
Jesus Christ, yes.
in flashbacks, when he says like, "Oh, are you still a virgin?" to Corey Feldman, and then he's like, "Well, what was your first time like?" And he like flashes
Oh my
back to the
God.
trailer. I was like, "We didn't need to do that." Like Rachel's like, "Oh my god!" Like yeah, audibly, like in the house. Like, what the fuck was that? Like, why did we need to see that again?
That's what's so sort of weird about this one is like it's so sexually charged, this movie. And I think it's because like as teenagers when you're hormonal and you're going through puberty, like sex is definitely on your mind, right? But like this feels like the time of a generation where like they were really selling sex to kids, like MTV and things like that, and
Yeah.
just like being more adult than your age was kind of in vogue, I guess, during the 80s and 90s kind of thing. So, like, it just seemed like a lot of Corey Haim's portrayal was just like, not sex obsessed necessarily, but like very sexually centered on like his way of thinking, stuff like pleasure and stuff. It's always just like, that's his baseline for like everything when it comes down to it, which we don't know if it was like accurate or whatever, but like for this character, like that was not expecting that, especially Brian, after like what we've been saying. They were known more for their on-screen portrayals as than they were for their off-screen, and it almost appears like they were opposite, right? Like they were
Reversed, yeah.
playing each other on screen or something.
Yeah, it's so I don't know. Again, I'm fascinated with how it's linked to almost like everything we've heard, and this is like validation's a bad word for it, but I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because at times it felt like they wrote the script with IMDb open, like just looking at the trivia.
That's the best way to put it.
Don't go writing scripts like that, basing biopics on IMDb pages and things. Hopefully you're talking to credible sources along the way and stuff. But like, I mean, it is entertaining on that level.
Definitely is entertaining. That's for sure.
What's the first movie we see with Feldman?
I think
Is
he's
it
reading.
Goonies?
He's reading for Goonies when his mom is sort of making his.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's reading for Goonies. We see that's kind of cool because that's where we meet Michael Jackson or whatever. But we have to really talk about their meet cute, and I'm gonna call it a meet cute, right? Like one of the Coreys calls the other Corey, and it's like, hey, we're gonna be in Lost Boys together.
Whoa. One of the Coreys doesn't just call the other Corey. One of the Coreys is in the bathtub with a gun in his mouth. Okay?
No, I know.
Set the stage.
He saves him from suicide.
It was the call that saved my life. The day I met my
I really
other
thought
half.
that was gonna be. I really thought that was gonna be. Hi, I'm the movie star, guys. You're gonna be a movie star now. Do you want to be a movie star? Like I thought that's what that recording was gonna be. It being the other Corey to save his life. I didn't see that coming, so I was excited about that.
And I'd never heard of this pre-Lost Boys meeting. There's like stuff that said they might have bumped into each other at auditions since they were going out for like similar things and they'd heard of each other. And everything I read is they met on the set of the Lost Boys. But here, it looks like it's right before. They get their dads together to play beach football in a very long scene, all things considered,
So
right?
long.
Why didn't we ever hear about this private beach dads versus Corey's football day? This is the best day of his life, apparently, in retrospect.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Your name is Corey. My name is Corey. You're an actor. I'm an actor.
Looking back on it, that was the best time of my life.
Well, think about it. One of them likes 22. The other one likes 222. They're both
Hey,
Jewish-
we've almost
Jewish
got the
They-
same number. We've got the same first name. We're the same.
But come on, don't even play that up because like that it doesn't take much for you to be friends as a little
Nope,
boy.
it takes nothing. I had 2 friends named Mike. They were my best friends for like 3 years.
There you go.
In like kindergarten through 3rd grade, of course.
Takes nothing. You need one thing in common, and then the rest of you just falls in line. That's it.
I was surprised to see how early on, as we said, like the drugs, like
Immediately,
Yeah.
like highlighting, like he already has like the weed packed in the pipe, that he has like hidden under. So he's already using that as coping mechanisms as Lifetime
How
is telling
old was
us.
Corey Haim during this, by the way? I meant to ask you, because at one point they say Corey Feldman was 16, but it felt like Corey Haim might have been a little younger. Was he?
I think they're around the same age, but this movie goes from like, I would say 14. Like teen years are like from 14 to like 18, 19.
Okay.
So prime teen years. That's most of the movie. If you look at the timestamp, we're like an hour, 20 minutes as teens, and then, an hour as teens, and then the last 20 minutes as adults.
Yeah.
Just for our sake, Mike,
Yeah.
just seeing them get together like this was like total validation. And then just the fact that they're friends, that they're going out together, they're talking about girls, they're both interested in Robin Lively, Teen Witch herself. I thought that was cool.
They will do a movie, Dream a Little Dream 2, with her. So
Very true. I guess they were friends. I don't know. But the Keith Coogan scene, which
oh boy,
it's on the set of Lost Boys, right? Because it's like they've gone to Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
And they're gonna film Lost Boys, and they they get a new manager. Well, I guess it's Feldman's manager. Feldman wants to go through the lines, but Haim just wants to get fucked up or whatever.
Bong rips. Yeah.
Yeah, huge bong rips and find women. And when this guy just shows up, he's like, "Oh, this is the new chaperone. Okay, whatever." And he's like, "Hey, if you want to have sex, whatever, just have sex with this chaperone that showed up." And he's like, "Okay, well, we could do that if you want." Like, and then it just like it just progresses to that. I'm like, there was no grooming here at all. It was just like, "Hey, I'm gonna whisper in your ear," and then Corey Haim's like, "Okay, let's go to the bathroom." Whoa.
This scene is so messed up on so many levels because, like, ultimately, the way I read it is that, like, Corey Haim is he's just gay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that either, but, like, that's how
bisexual.
Or
Yeah.
bisexual. Like, that's the way, it's Corey Feldman's sort of view of the situation that is, like, makes him seem sort of, like, I don't know, like a bigot or something, right? Like, not that this is a safe, I don't want to try and get that across that this is like a safe situation because they're minors and this guy doesn't seem to be a minor, right?
No,
like,
he's old. And
he's
creepy,
way older
yeah.
and creepy and stuff. Like, there is definitely all that going on for sure. I'm not excusing any of this like behavior and stuff. It's just the perspective of this scene is off, like this needs to be
it's
way
almost
more
like a
dangerous. Yeah, like it needs to be threatening from the start. Like Corey Feldman jokingly does, like sarcastically says, "We'll just have sex with that guy if you're so horny." Like, and then Corey Haim is kind of like, "Yeah, I think I will," and it just seems irresponsible for this to come back as the focal sort of moment for kind of both of them to be like the crux of their deteriorating friendship and everything.
I think you can show it to be like, "Oh, this is someone we trusted."
But
They
they
didn't
just
trust
met
this
him.
guy.
They just met this guy.
And like the crackhead mom was like the one that got him. Like he was like, my mom thought this would be a good chaperone. Like,
So that's what I was gonna say. Like that, they didn't depict that. They didn't show that this guy had been there. Oh, this is a family friend. You know what I mean? Like they should have shown him earlier. Like, oh, this is a guy we trust, and then he betrays their trust. That turn
Right.
happens in 30 seconds. It's insane.
milliseconds. Yeah.
It's insane.
It's so Lifetime. It's just like wild.
Well, we see in Lifetime, like in a lot of these things, like a real sinister characters, and I almost give them credit for making this guy not necessarily like a creepy guy in the shadows, but you can't just roll into it like it's nothing. So yeah, I don't know.
It didn't feel like this was the scene full of consequence when in fact it's the scene. Like that's the way it kind of.
Yeah, because when it comes back as adults
Right.
and he's yelling at him like, "Oh, you knew him and you let that happen."
Yeah.
And it's like,
Like I just imagine what like, a writer and a director
I
could
thought
have
that he
done.
was saying that it was like the other chaperone was the guy that was doing it. But he was talking about this chaperone, like the first one that the mom picked out.
Well, both of these
Yeah.
guys, both of their like crimes are public. One is a convicted pedophile. The other one's been accused by a lot of people. It might even be dead or something like that. I forgot. But the two guys they really focus on, these two, chaperones and / managers, are actual people who have confirmed to really, really do this.
Okay.
How about what's happening while this rape is being occurred when Feldman just like starts walking on the streets of Santa Clara, very, very Lost Boys-esque, and he gets picked up by a girl who pretends she doesn't know who he is, but then she has a great line when they're in her apartment. She goes, "I can't believe I'm doing coke with Mouth."
Can't believe I'm doing coke with Mouth.
And Mouth is his character name from the Goonies. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yes, it's awesome. I was like, man, that's the way to do it. He's living the dream right there.
Yeah, it's an amazing scene. Unfortunately, I don't believe it ever happened for a second. Like Corey Feldman,
Why not?
because Corey Feldman just goes wandering out of his hotel room, hitchhikes, down the coast, and like what we find out later to be a Playboy model just like picks him up like out of nowhere.
No, that wasn't the Playboy model.
Oh, that wasn't? Okay, well, she looks like she's gorgeous anyway. She was this gorgeous girl just like pulls up, says, "Jump in my car," takes him home, does blow, they have sex, like... Yeah,
talk about UFOs. Don't forget they talk about UFOs.
They talk about UFOs. Mike, I believe it happened.
It's a fantasy. I don't know.
No, that happened. That 100% happened.
I believe it happened in this way. A, she probably wasn't as pretty as that girl. B,
I agree.
He's just walking. I don't necessarily think he was walking on like a lonely Santa Cruz like highway. I think he probably went out to like the center of town and was walking around. What's that movie? God, there was a horror movie that came out recently that takes place in I keep saying Santa Cruz. Apologies, Santa Claritans and Santa Cruzians. I messed your towns up. But in Santa Cruz, there's a movie that takes place recently, a horror movie. It's a Jordan Peele one, and I totally forgot the name.
Oh, Us.
Us, yes, Us. And they mentioned that The Lost Boys is filming there. And from doing my research, when The Lost Boys was filming in Santa Cruz, it was huge news. Like, the town was all over it. So I'm sure this girl knows who's in this movie. And she saw him.
Okay, Starfucker. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
He's portraying not Starfucker, but an opportunist.
Yeah. Okay. But
well, like like the one to hook him on blow get him to do blow for the first time. Like that's got to be a page in her autograph book, right? Like I don't know.
And I don't know if he necessarily did it for the first time there either. Who knows?
Right. But that I don't believe for a second.
Mike, did you like seeing someone playing Joel Schumacher as the director?
That was crazy. That was wild. Like, I mean, I don't know of Joel. I've never seen Joel Schumacher like lose his shit on it. Also, again, R.I.P. Joel Schumacher. Directed Cage a few times, but like that was wild. We don't just see him. We see a Joe Dante in here somewhere as well. Like, it's so cool to see the on-set stuff.
Yeah, and he almost gets fired, but he's able to recover from that. That's I don't know. Like you said, I loved seeing the on-set stuff. So I wrote a bunch of stuff down that I really, really wanted to talk about.
You're hitting all the highlights for me too. So go ahead.
The next scene I really wanted to talk about was, I think it happens right after, a little bit after, where they go to this 80s club, and Corey Haim is like talking up what Feldman did. He's like, he told the director he couldn't fire him. A lot of pretty women around, and they play that song of it. Oh, they're like, "Oh, show him your moves," and he dances to Michael Jackson. He dances Michael Jackson moves to a non-Michael Jackson song. It's that song's like, "You don't have to take your clothes off." You know that song?
Yes.
But it's a sound alike, and just like the lights in this club, and how little people are in this club because it's Lifetime.
It's a bougie LA club that it doesn't have that many people, because apparently you can just do any drug you want in the bathroom at all times.
I guess this is pre Viper Room, or maybe it's like around that sort of zone or that.
It's probably in that era, but this is like, I think even a couple movies we've covered, Joe, has used this like club set. I feel like go to the big city.
Yeah, there's one club.
Is this the
Pizza Gelato? Pizza Gelato is in every Lifetime movie. Yes.
Is this like the start of just the fucking binging drug montage? Because they are railing lines like no tomorrow in this movie.
It's this, and then the Playboy, like when they first go to the Playboy mansion, which is cool too, but like also weird. It's like, hey, let's bring these teenagers to the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah.
This is cool.
I love how they did not film at the Playboy Mansion. They're like, is there a mansion anywhere in like this section of Canada? Any mansion whatsoever, please?
Did you see, like, I think it was the later Playboy party, but it might have been this one. They had a couple Hugh Hefner shots of, like...
Oh, yeah.
no.
I saw Hugh in the background, yeah.
I was a little upset that they didn't use the X-Men mansion because I think that's, like, in Canada, if I'm not... I don't know, it could be in Westchester. Whatever. Never mind.
But yeah, Mike, the montage you're talking about is the one with that's spoken over where he's just like, we had everything. Acid, shrooms...
Crack!
Crack, yeah, that's a crack.
Goes right to crack.
And then they pull up to the back of the Chinese food restaurant and they're like, and then the mother load, heroin. I was like, wait, what? You could get the heroin with a number 2? What?
They call it
number 2,
Chiva.
egg roll,
little bit of
fried
Chiva.
rice.
Yeah, some smack.
I liked how if you looked at the pictures of them after every drug they mentioned, it's like something in a health textbook. When they said shrooms, it was like shroom face, like
Yes. I know. I loved it too. And it was like crack, and it was like dark, dirty warehouse, like one chair, and you're sitting alone.
Again, I don't mean to laugh at we're laughing at more of the lifetime aspects. We're not laughing,
of course,
at child rape and things like that.
Well, that's the thing. Like, is this Lifetime territory? Like, it got like increasingly uncomfortable because it felt like they were trying, not that they couldn't handle it. Like, I think they did an amazing job with this movie for what it's worth, but it did feel like they were a little maybe like kind of out of their league a little bit. Like, it's a lot, man. Like, they have the parental advisory, but there's just so much drugs. There's way more. I knew there were going to be a lot of drugs, but there were way more drugs than I was expecting. There's like a lot more like
explicit drugs too. Like usually we get like hints of like somebody's doing the drugs, and there's like they come out of the bathroom looking weird. This was like lines everywhere.
Corey Haim does like a 12-foot rail that like would kill me. Like, what the fuck? Like, instant heart attack. Come on.
Well, he pretty much does have an instant heart attack. That's where he sits on the bathroom floor and he's like, I'm gonna die here. Yeah.
Crazy.
Before we talk about the Burbs, Mike, which I want to discuss with you as a Hanks guy.
Oh my God, yes.
One thing I forgot to mention, but it happens a couple times here that I really want to talk to you about, Joe, was the fake teen newspapers that'll come out occasionally. Like Tiger Rad or like I forgot
Tiger Rad,
yeah, Tiger Rad is one of them. But there's a couple others that were just like Corey headlines, just like coming on the screen. Like you and I, in the next 10 minutes, could make those teen newspapers. or magazines.
Absolutely. This is like we had one with a fake Facebook in it too.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is incredible. Like, yeah, this would be my favorite part of being in the writer's room. Like, this would be like one of those things would be like, we're gonna need some fake headlines, and like I would just look at you and we'd be like, we got this. Yeah, like, like we'll take that part. That's okay. And then we're like, just in the back, just like screwing around drunk at night, making these headlines. That's my dream. That's what I want to be gifted.
If I had a magic wand and I could put you in a career, it would be in that room, and you'd be the guy known for that. Like, oh, there's a nature magazine that needs to be created with the parents, and it's an excuse for why they leave. Joe, get on this.
Yes, that's exactly what I want. Or like the commercial that he watches to like be inspired to try heroin for the first time. Like, can you make that commercial? Be like, yes, I can. I can absolutely make that commercial. It sounds like a wet fever dream for me. That's perfect.
So, guys out there, if you haven't seen the movie, you probably can figure out what's happening. We're just going through scenes of their life, and they're getting more and more into drugs, and unfortunately, the parents are becoming shittier and shittier, and their guardians are raping them. Like, I'm trying to be more nice about it, but that is what's happening, right? Like,
that's the tilder of it for sure.
There's the dad, and he uses all his funds on his rock stuff, and he's like,
"Yeah, you're not the only Feldman with talent in this family."
In the entertainment business, yeah, you're like, bro, come on, dude. You're an old man with a band that's playing to no one in California. Like, nobody gives a fuck about Corey Feldman's dad's band.
Yeah, go hang out with like Al Pacino's brother and like John Travolta's sister. I don't know. Like,
the Hames are getting divorced, and the mom and the sister go back, and the dad and him stay.
No, the other way around.
Oh, sorry. The dad and the sister go back. The mom and him stay in L.A.
What's up with that real quick? My parents got divorced later in life and stuff, so like choosing like a parent, like it just seems so weird. That seems so 80s and like a Lifetime movie in and of itself.
No, they pitch it like because your sister's going back to school in Canada and like one parent has to go with her, and because you're an actor here,
An actor who's out of control, mind you.
Right.
Yes.
It made it seem like you broke up the family and I have to watch over you in Los Angeles now, and your sister and father like have nothing to do.
I think that's how he felt.
Yeah.
And it was a contributing factor. I'm not like blaming him, but LA's not for everyone, obviously, especially this kind of LA lifestyle. And his mom was a very, very, even today, as we mentioned, Corey Feldman and the mom, says she's a part of a conspiracy. I don't know if I buy that, but regardless, his mom was like the most important person in his life.
Right. Okay.
But Mike, I do want to just take a quick segue into the Burbs here.
Oh my God.
So that's the scene where he's walking out of the house, Feldman, and he just can't deliver his lines.
Because he's just fucked.
Yes, yeah, and he's trashed. Like, you and I could walk on set and deliver the lines better than he is.
I knew the line by the end of this scene.
For sure. Did you see, Mike, the fake Tom Hanks actor judging him in the corner?
No, I didn't know that was supposed to be Hanks. I just looked
on
IMDb.
You need to pay attention for this, Mike. We needed to give you like a little debriefing before we did this movie. You got to watch out for stuff like that.
For real, man, that was crazy. Although, like, I was looking for Dick Miller because there's an amazing clip. I think it's on YouTube. And Dick Miller is, like, a legendary character actor. And, like, he plays the garbage man in that movie. And there's a scene where he's sharing the screen with Corey Feldman. And Feldman is, like, fucking around before a take. And he just puts that kid in his fucking place in 2 seconds. It is some of the most amazing behind-the-scenes footage I'd ever seen.
That's
so I was
awesome.
hoping... So I was glad to see... that, like, yeah, it was not that I was glad to see that he was having problems on set, but that was just more of that sort of, like, I don't even want to call it validation, but just that, like, oh, yeah. That, you know what I mean? Like, it did feel like that. I was like, oh, I've heard that he was being a jerk off on that set, but I guess it's sort of a half-truth. Like, he had a drug problem, and, that's what was up.
And then we get their conversation with the late Carrie Fisher on set. She was in the movie as well.
Also, they had to tell you it was Carrie Fisher because they wrote Carrie real big on the back of a chair, and then he calls her Princess Leia.
Mad disrespect to the princess in this movie, man. They just they did not want to hear it.
Look, she's someone who went through it. I don't know. I feel like this is something that Feldman contributed to the script because unless Carrie Fisher wrote about it in like her book or something, But how else would like this become such a big deal? And the older character cites her as like, that was the first time he's like, oh, I need to get sober or whatever. She did it. She was a child star.
She seems like she was in the right place and like actually was an inspiration in his life, right?
Yeah, I mean, according to this movie.
Yeah, because I think
according to this movie,
I think this is after like she famously wrote Postcards from the Edge, and Meryl Streep played her in that movie, and it's about like her recovery and all that, that whole situation in her life. And so I think this is when she was like on the other side of it for a while, right? And like kind of doing the more like going around and telling people, like inspiring them to like, not give up and go to rehab and that whole kind of situation. So, I mean, I could actually see this not being sort of like made up. I could actually see her being on set being like, I could smell it a mile away, and I'm sure she wasn't
like,
this and there's no way she was this ginger with it either. She was probably like yelling at him and cursing him out and doing the Carrie Fisher thing.
Like a tough love kind of way.
Right, that's it, yeah.
So 2 other movies I want to discuss quickly that we see or are referred to here. We do get the whole tension with the License to Drive thing that, Mike, you and I talked about on the License to Drive episode, that one of the many roles that both of them went out for, that Corey Haim just started getting all of them. And in here it says, like, oh, his mom put him up for it, but it was kind of one of these things. It felt shitty. I get it. It was competition in Hollywood, but it seems like that was something that really irked Feldman at the time and probably still to this day. And like I said, it was just Haim playing the awkward lead character and Feldman being the best friend who wears sunglasses and is trying to get you to do something. And good little allusion to License to Drive. We didn't see License to Drive stuff, but once again, validation with that. We also hear, Mike, that Dream a Little Dream was a bomb, and that's kind of leads to their breakup.
Yeah. And at this point, I need to mention the wig work. Like, Corey Feldman's wigs are just getting, like, more and more outrageous and preposterous to the point where it's like Dream a Little Dream is just like, man, this is why, what is going on? Just put a mop on his head or something. I can't tell.
Anything else in the teen chapter that you guys want to discuss or talk about? Or
I felt this was actually a really interesting movie in the sense that it was a nice blend of like a dramatic Lifetime movie and then also just pure chaos with all the like random drug scenes and stuff. And I was like, I knew it was a Lifetime movie. I knew it was going to be a biopic, but I didn't know the story. And when it came out, like as I'm watching through it, I'm like, yeah, they definitely Lifetimed this up a lot, and that worked for me. Like, they put the nice, as Mike said, like, Lifetime lens on it, and I was like, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted. It's really awesome. There was parts that I was screaming at the TV about and stuff like that, and I was like, yeah, this is where I wanted to be.
Okay, so I was gonna ask, because as someone not familiar with the story, like, so it kept you in? You were, like, following along and I don't want to say excited, but interested to continue?
Yeah, but, like, I knew that they were alluding to Corey Haim dying. I didn't know that they were going to take his ass out with pneumonia.
Right. Like
what a bitch-ass way to go for such a badass dude. Like, pneumonia got him. Wow, that really sucks.
You almost want them to change it for the movie to be murdered, because like that's the only thing this is missing is a dead body, like in that capacity. Like the Corey's
murdered or OD'd. I thought he was just like gonna like he met up with them. He was like, that was a great day, and then he like relapsed and died.
If this wasn't a true story, that's how it would have happened.
Yeah, because you almost expect it to get out that the Coreys killed someone and like buried the body and got away with it. You know, like not. It just seems like if they're gonna go and like Lifetime it, like that's the one thing missing, right? But it didn't happen.
Feldman would have never let that happen. You know, like, clearly
they definitely buried a body at the beach where they played football. That's for sure.
Which dad? Which of their dads? Both.
Both of their dads are just side by side with like the Nerf ball, just like on their chest. Did this to us.
What did you like about or dislike or whatever about this final? I guess the final adult chapter. First of all, did you like how they looked, the older Coreys compared to the younger Coreys?
I don't know what they were supposed to look like. I know what older Corey Feldman looks like, and they made him like a lot less run down. Like they picked like a more like wholesome looking guy, and they really like Corey Haim. Like I don't know what he looked like when he was older. But, like, it felt like they picked, like, a dude that looked, like, washed, right? Like, they gave him, like, the worst example of what he looked like.
100%. They really made it seem like, as we said, that Feldman got sober, really got his act together, and just, you know, he was married with a kid. And even though, again, they mention it, that marriage took place on the Surreal Life, and MC Hammer was his officiant.
Should have called Dan Colon. He officiates weddings now.
Yes, I knew you weren't implying that he was MC Hammer.
Oh, you didn't know that he also dances in parachute pants? Well, I can't tell you that. He did the theme song to the second Addams Family. You don't remember? No? Okay.
But yeah, they really though made it seem like, oh, you know, I had to do the reality shows. I didn't want to be out there, but I'm in debt. I did it for the money. I met my wife there. He later divorces, which he says, but like I have my child through there.
Yeah. I mean, he's writing this, of course. Like, first of all, he looks good. Like, he looks like older Corey Feldman. I thought they got the look down right, but you guys are perfectly on the ball. Where as far as like he's all like living clean, and Corey Haim is like down and dirty on his luck, you know, and it's like visually instantly apparent, and that is just crazy because you know. No, I mean, again, like we need like a whole other movie about Corey Feldman after this movie ends to see sort of like this is hard to say without like, you know, dissing him too hard, but like he kind of is like a bit of a crazy person. Like he hangs around with like a harem of women he calls the angels. Like he is he is touting conspiracy theories from time to time. Like it is just, I don't know.
Feldman?
Feldman. Like he just unfortunately does not seem to be in the best of mental health, right? And so like
right now or at the time?
Yeah, right now. Well, all in all,
he hangs out with the harem right now that he calls the angels.
Yeah,
supposedly yes.
Right. In his compound. Like he's got
and again,
a couple girlfriends.
This movie is from 2018, and I know it's, he died before that, so they're not depicting that era, but they really make it seem like he 100% got his shit together, and he's making movies again. And let's be honest, these are like made-for-DVD movies. Lost Boys 2, Lost Boys 3, Lost Boys 4, things like that. They weren't like as big as the Lost Boys were. And I'm not dissing his career. And I think, for me, I don't want to like shit on them so much because
that's
Hollywood,
the hard thing.
Hollywood definitely did this to them, Like,
Yes. They used them for sure.
They had a bad run through it. They had a bad childhood, and we love the movies. We love that kind of stuff, but ultimately, I feel shitty about what happened to them. But Mike, you are right. Like, Corey Feldman's very hard to read these days, and Corey Haim is not alive to tell his story. So this is what we get out of it, and it's ironic and weird. But Joe, as someone again who are just watching this movie, and let's say you knew even less than what you do about Corey Feldman, I bet you wouldn't even guess that like he's into conspiracy theories and has a harem of women, because this makes it seem like he's Mr. Family Man.
Yeah, he's like he's like totally wholesome. Like I could see him being like, "Oh, like I spent all the time at church and stuff." Like yeah, he painted himself in the best light for sure. Oh, that's so weird. That's so weird that he's like, and it also feels like now knowing like when he died that he was kind of like waiting for Corey Haim to die to be like, okay, like here's the story, and like so he didn't have any like rebuttal.
It does feel a little like that too, and I love how they kind of prop up Haim at the end of the movie where he's like, hey, I did get my shit together. Hey, I did do a cameo in a movie in Crank 2. Like things are kind of on the rise and stuff. And you could almost see the way the Feldman character's playing it. He looks like pissed off that Corey Haim's character is like coming
Not
out.
a fuck up anymore.
Yeah, like it's so bad. And if that's not the motivation behind his acting and performance, like I'm reading it that way because that's how the character's been played the entire movie, is just like kind of behind his eyes. I just hear him say, this motherfucker, like trying to get in my shit like all the time kind of thing. So like it ends on such a bizarre note for me where the both of them are like, hey man, like the future is bright. Like, we're clean, we're sober. Like maybe I'll try a bit of that family you were talking about, right? And like our kids can like go to school together one day. And it's just like, I don't know, Joe, like if you can feel it, right? Just by virtue of being a Lifetime movie, but I can feel it just like in general, like it is just so much horseshit on top of horseshit.
Yes.
But
yes,
it's entertaining. It's entertaining and I'm here for it, but it's just like such horseshit. That's how it feels.
They always have to end it on a really positive note. There's never, you never get an ending of a movie that would be a movie that we would be like, oh wow, what an interesting film, that just like ends, right? Like this is they're not going to end it the way like an Oscar movie might just like let it like just dissipate. It has to end with like either like a really high note or a really low note. That's how you're going to get the end of a Lifetime movie. Because, Mike, you have to remember, and I talked about this with Brian a lot, is that the ending is playing while the credits for the next movie, is rolling. You know what I mean? Like, they're already queuing up the next movie. So, like, you have to wrap this up real quick in a tidy bow to finish it off.
Wow, crazy. I think, I would have more respect for this film if it ended at the funeral, right? Than it did sort of the month before at the beach or something. But like, that's the difference between like a kick in the pants and like just a piece of like fluff or, like this thing, whatever this is, I guess. which I still love. Don't get, but I'm just saying like at times this one felt a little too sort of like big for its own britches, where it's like, no, man, like we're saying something here, and it's like you're not really saying more than the obvious, really. But it's just more fun because it's the Coreys, I think, right? Like there's such an oddity, like it's just such an amalgam. It's like just because they had the same first name, like that's what's so bizarre, and that's why I'm so engaged, is because like there's just two kids picked out of a hat because they had the same name and they're inexplicably linked together. That's kind of
whoa. I think you're way.
I think they were like child stars. Like they were like
no,
they just happened to have the same name. Like
that's
they
what
were
I'm
like both charismatic dudes.
No, I'm not saying that. I mean, I'm not saying like they're not great actors and didn't deserve it. I'm just saying the idea that they would be sort of coupled together, because like
Oh, I see.
how many Chris's are there right now? It's not like Chris Hemsworth and is only doing movies with like, another Chris, right? Like that's the kind of thing I'm coming from. It's like it's just such a strange thing that like Hollywood would say you two like belong
But these are
together.
child actors that look opposite, that are about the same age. So like in that sense, I kind of get it. Like they had different trajectories that kind of just met, right? And like once they put them together, they were like, oh, this is an unstoppable duo. But,
Right.
like you have the dark haired one and the blonde haired one. We were just watching the movie together, the MTV like movie about boy bands,
For
and it's
sure.
like kind of like that, right? Like you need like the shy one and the sexy one, and the what I mean? Like,
it's
you get
marketing. Yeah.
the marketing of it. Yes, I can see that they're being put together not because of their names, just because like it works too well to not have them as a tandem.
Mike, quickly, so watching Kid 90 over the weekend really, I don't want to say changed my perspective, but kind of clarified this for me as well. Soleil Moon Frye says in there, like, the reason I hung out with all these other kid celebrities is because at the time, there were not too many of us. There was just a group of kids. We used to just see each other on auditions. We used to exchange numbers, hang out. So them getting together is not that crazy to me.
Okay.
But the marketing of it, you're right. The fact that there were the two Coreys and they start being in films together, it's a small world out there, though, especially of child stars. Everyone seemed to have known Corey Feldman. That's one thing that you find in doing your research as well. Obviously, Corey Haim, unfortunately, and that's another thing too, Mike. We know that Corey Haim will do like a bunch of these like made for DVD movies, and some that are really good in the 90s.
Yeah.
But this makes it sound like, oh, once they had that falling out, no one would cast him, and eventually that was the case. But yeah, I mean, he was still working. If you look at his IMDb, he never really stopped working. It's not like he was in a hole or something. He was just doing crappy stuff.
Oh, and on the note that like Corey Feldman paints himself in a good light in this movie, it's still, whether or not he wanted to convey this, it still seemed like he was trying to use Corey Haim at the end. Like he was trying to use him to boost himself. Like whether or not he was like finally being a little honest, or it's just he was such a shitbag about this that it, like you can't hide it. Is another thing that I can't distinguish. But like you see at the end of like he comes and he's like, hey, like you want to meet my kid? And he's like, oh, that's cool. Like you're doing good, bud. Like I think I'm gonna do like community theater here. And he's like, no, why don't you come on my reality show? Because like he's trying to get back into it because he's in debt. So it's like, yeah, you're kind of still being scummy.
There is sort of still that weird kind of like, where is the line to all of this too? Because that's sort of what I think I was trying to get at a little bit with the ending, Joe, too, is like Feldman seems to want Haim around so that he feels better about himself, right? That like, oh, this guy used to be my friend, now he's on hard times. Like, if I have him around, I'll look better. And then at the end of the movie, Corey Haim comes around and he's like, hey, man, I'm kind of doing like better than you. Like, I'm in this movie with Jason. I'm with Jason Statham in a movie, like it's a real thing. Like I'm
and he was
sober.
always jealous too, like from the beginning, because like with the like he stole my part thing, like you clearly see that he's jealous of him because he thinks it like everything seems to just work out for Corey Haim, even like no matter what, like everything, he's just like the star. So yeah, I think that he's like when he comes back and he's like, hey, I'm sober and stuff now. He's like, fuck, man, like. I was really hoping you'd have like OD'd by now.
No.
Like it's strange because I don't think the movie is necessarily like going for that, but it's just sort of inherent in the story being told, right? Like it's just what they pulled from trivia, IMDb, facts, whatever you want to, wherever they, Wikipedia script, but like it's in the details, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the point. And
between the lines,
yeah, triple spaced and stuff.
Yeah, again, I keep saying this word validation, and it's not validation of any of us being right or anything like that. It's just this is everything we've heard, and now it's on screen.
Right. Like it would be one thing, Brian, if it was like just the complete opposite, or like we started seeing shit that like we never heard or had like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know, that like one of them were in the mafia. I'm just trying to pull something, like just some other kind of shit about them that you never would have imagined, and that like would have come up. But no, this is like everything in the tabloids.
The couple things that like were new at the time were like the Lucas rape, and I think they're meet cute and things like that. But eventually, Corey Feldman spills it all anyway. So I don't know what to make of the movie though. But I had a good time. But should I have? This is how I'm feeling. You know what I mean?
Yes. This wasn't. This was a really enjoyable, wacky time, lifetime movie. But knowing that it's a biopic, like, really puts a stain on it for me. Because like I enjoy these movies, and I enjoy them like satirically, right? But like, yeah, this was like heavy and dark, and it's still like you kind of fumbled around in it, and that's funny to me. So, and it shouldn't be, but yeah, that's where I'm at too. I'm with you, Brian. I feel you.
Yeah, I'm there too, because I'm wondering if like, should a biopic be this much exploitation, right? Like,
yes.
Right? Like, it feels like, it feels like Class of 1984, Brian, at times, right? Like, it feels like a hardcore sort of teen exploitation film, but it really happened. Like, I feel like there should almost be more respect involved, no matter who it is. But like, just seeing, just like, again, I couldn't believe like the portrayal of them at some points. Like, I had heard some stories, but then when you just see a fraction of what you've been told portrayed in a very flamboyant manner, you realize that it was like 100 times more than that, constantly, and it just makes your mind sort of like freeze for a minute or two to kind of like figure out a way to like wrap your head around that, and I think this movie, just sort of, it's weird how much of it feels like this exploitation thing and not like a biopic.
But that's the Lifetime aspect of it. Like,
is that the Lifetime?
Yes.
Is that what Lifetime?
Yeah.
I would consider Lifetime films as exploitation films. They wouldn't consider it, but they are in a sense. Like, it's a genre, and this, if I went to the theater and saw this movie, I would think it was 20 times more offensive, because I'm like, what is this crap? But knowing what it is, that's like if I went to go see if I see an opera about the two Coreys, there are certain expectations that I'm going to get that are more operatic, for lack of a better term, than if I'm getting the straight documentary, right? So when I'm watching a Lifetime film, there are Lifetime things that I expect to see that I'm rewarded with a couple times here. Again, it's hard to love because it's a true story, but I can't not love those aspects of it, because that's what makes it a Lifetime film. Everyone knew what they were doing when they made this a Lifetime film.
Yes.
Everyone
they
knew
know the audience. They know how it's going to come out, how it's going to be made. Yes, exactly.
It's just a different form of art.
And that feels like the craziest part of it to me. It's
there's a bunch of people working on this movie knowing exactly what it's going to be.
Because it's not like it's, I wouldn't go as far to say as like it's irresponsible, because that's, those, you can make a movie. It's a movie, it's a story, and it happened, and it is mostly a warning, you know what I mean? Like, it's not making this look cool or fun or anything like that. So their heart's in the right place, I guess. It's just never not gonna feel strange, I guess, that there's a Lifetime movie about the two Coreys. Like, I know they're in the stratosphere like that, like they are constellations in the sky, but like, I just didn't realize, how bright they were still shining, I guess.
That's a question I had for you guys. Why now was this movie made? What had caused 2017 to be like, let's revive the Coreys? Considering he died in 2010, they're obviously famous from the 90s. What was like, because Lifetime always has a catalyst too. It's like, somebody, like, something just happened to someone and they're back in the news. That's why you do this. So was there a point that you can point to that say like, oh, in 2017, like, the book came out or something? Like, what was it? Do you know by any chance?
The book was after this, but I just think it was two factors. One, obviously, like, we're in such a nostalgia era, and Lifetime is looking for these stories. Two,
that's fair. Yeah.
Corey Feldman loves to put himself out there. At least pre to this. Now he's apparently in hiding because of the army of sex offenders that are out to get him. I don't know, but like in this era especially, again, what are there 5 Lost Boys films now, Mike?
Oh, I lost count, but yeah, they're all sort of straight to video stuff.
He's trying to make movies and get paid. I wouldn't be surprised if his agent was like, "Hey, so Lifetime has been talking at Hollywood parties, wanting to do biopics on real stories that happened. Would you be cool to sign off on this?" And he's like, "Yeah, definitely, let's do it."
And they're preferential to ones that have a stamp of approval. So, like,
Interesting.
if you say yeah, they'll do it.
I've got a different sort of thing playing out in my head, kind of, because I have like, as soon as Corey Haim passes away, I mean, this is gonna sound this might not sound great, but like I feel like as soon as Haim passed away, Feldman was working on that feature film about the 2 Coreys, and 7 years later, Lifetime's the only person that had any interest in sort of telling that
wouldn't
kind
shock
of
me
story.
either.
You know,
the
and they're like,
timing
all
is
right.
weird. Yeah,
Well, that's the thing. That's like,
but it's
there's
like 7
no
years later. Yeah.
Right. It feels like the kind of end of an exhausted journey for him, where it's like, well, I guess we're gonna have to accept Lifetime's bid because they're the only. They've been waiting, they've been waiting for us to get
7
back.
years.
Yeah,
on
and
a
like
hard drive somewhere. Yeah.
they're actually going to spend the money to like hire 5 other writers and to like get on this and make something out of my my notes and stuff. So that's sort of where I see it coming from. I don't really think anyone was like reaching out to him about this. I mean, maybe Lifetime was just like, hey, what's in the pike? The 2 Coreys. It's like, shit, yeah, why not? Might as well. Like, let's do that. I don't feel like there was like a catalyst for this. I just feel like it kind of was like, hey, remember all this other shit? Like, there was also 2 Coreys. Like, check them out.
I mean, that checks out too.
I want to believe that, but I know that Lifetime always has like their finger on the pulse, right? So it's like, oh, something happened, and like now we need to do this immediately, because we know that the turnaround on these movies is really quick. So like it doesn't take them long to do it. So usually it's like, you'll see something weird in the news, like for example, like Casey Anthony, like they'll be like, oh, like her trial's wrapping up or something, and they're like, okay, Lifetime movie comes out like immediately afterwards.
Right. Well, maybe, I mean, if the book did come after, maybe it was sort of trying to lead into the book or something like that.
You're right, promo for the book, maybe. Yep, that works.
And I think Corey Feldman also, just like a year, like right before lockdown, I think he was about to premiere a new documentary that he put together, but I feel like he canceled a bunch of the screenings or something.
No, what happened there was like he had a bunch of screenings, and then like simultaneously the film shut off, and he was saying it got hacked, but some people were saying like it was hacked by like the pedophile organization that chases him, but some people were saying that he did it on purpose to drum up support for the documentary or whatever.
Yikes.
And this was right before pandemic, so I don't know. That's all I'll say. I don't know the answer to that, but he's always lately he's putting a story out there, though. This might have just been part of it. I'm not sure.
Just another conspiracy, perhaps? I don't know.
All right, let's get to our questions. Usually easy on a Lifetime movie, but first question every week these days is, who was this movie made for? Who was the target audience?
Moms.
I'll let Mike answer first.
Moms. Fucking moms, right? Scared moms?
Scared moms, for sure. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, scared moms that are precisely Mike's age. Like, exactly the same age as Mike. That's who it is.
Old as fuck moms.
No, that's not old as fuck.
I know.
No, that's definitely not old as fuck. That was, I went to the movie theaters to see these guys.
See the 2 Coreys
I'm
in
joking.
movies, yeah.
My sister's age, yeah.
Yeah, I bought Tiger Beat magazine because it had, the hamster and the fell dog on the cover.
Fell dog.
And then, wow, this is what happened with these guys? Crazy. And then they move on to the next movie.
Yep.
Some of these questions, sorry, I shouldn't be laughing, but I'm laughing ahead of time because the fucked upness. Most likely to succeed. Who won the movie? Who comes out on top in A Tale of 2 Coreys?
Oh, brother. Bernie Haim, Corey's dad, who got out of the picture fast and early.
That's a good one. I was going to say Corey Feldman's parents, because they got that $40,000 and just bailed on him.
Yeah. But how long did that last, that couple? Like,
probably. Yeah,
they're like straight out of Casino, right? Like, yeah. It's just
it literally becomes like the movie Casino. With
they
like
are
the
Sharon Stone and James Woods. Like, that is
yes,
them.
exactly.
Wooderson Award. Is there a character here you would have liked to seen more of?
I mean, I would have followed
Carrie Fisher.
Oh, Carrie Fisher, that'd been cool. Maybe more Hanks. I could have like get Tom Hanks to say like one or two, like, "Hey, like maybe we should take 5." I don't know.
I'm gonna say the unseen characters. Like we don't get Nicole Eggert here. We don't get a lot of the co-stars from their other films that we see.
You wanted the Patricia Arquette cameo.
Patricia Arquette would have been great. I mean, I don't know. There's a bunch of
No. How about Corey Haim's sister? Like, what the fuck happened to her, right? Because she just like she's like there. He's like doing drugs all over the house, and then she just like goes to school. Is she like a normal functioning person?
Why didn't we get an actor change for older Michael Jackson? That would have been interesting. Like have another actor come back. Maybe Corey Feldman could have played him. I don't know.
Because that's a whole nother like series of movies.
Of course, I know. I'm on the joking end of the podcast.
And with the sister, yeah, she speaks a lot about Corey as well. Again, she was an actor too, so she was in these circles, and I guess she just went to get her education. I'm not sure. All good answers, though. All valid answers. There's plenty here that I want to know more of. And Long Duck Dong Award. Is there a character whose omission from the film would make things better? Would you delete any character or storyline here?
Yeah, definitely Michael Jackson. I mean, like, I get it, but like, and like, I don't even think he played a bad Michael Jackson, but just like, there was so much fucking Michael Jackson in this movie for no reason. Like, it didn't move any parts of the story. Like, he could have just referenced Michael Jackson, like, in a distant thought. Like, like, oh, yeah, and then I was hanging out with, like the scene where he's like, oh, are you going to introduce me to Michael Jackson? He's the only one that understands me. Like, that's the only scene you needed, and it doesn't have Michael Jackson in it.
It would have been great if he was just telling Corey, like, I even had Michael Jackson call my dad, and nothing. Like, no one could get through. But, like, it's so funny. Like, this Michael Jackson shit, I'm just never going to get over how much he did. Like, it just does not even feel like Michael Jackson. Like, I cannot get past the point that, like, if Michael Jackson calls your dad to be like, look, your son's upset, and then your dad is just like, fuck you, Michael Jackson, like, that is not going to happen in this world. I'm sorry. I just think that is the most amazing part of this movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, the power, first of all, Michael Jackson's not going to pick up his own telephone to fucking dial any shit. I'll tell you that much.
Well, no, he made Corey do it, so that's believable.
And then he's going to, like...
just use that phone.
Yeah, and then he's going to have Bubbles hold the phone for him. His pet monkey's going to hold the phone while he speaks at his son. This is a whole process. The Elephant Man's bones weren't even in this movie. Come on, that's not Michael Jackson.
Jesus. Cameron Fry Award. Now, we don't really see school. Obviously, they're being schooled on set. We do see some teenagers, but it's mostly... we don't see too many teenagers, actually. There's extra teenagers, but... So I'll focus the question a little bit more. Were the two Coreys convincing Coreys and convincing teenagers to you?
Yeah. I thought the older Corey Haim, he reminded me of Jai Courtney a little bit, the Captain Boomerang guy. He's, I think he was John McClane's son in the last Die Hard movie. It's like he's popped up around town here and there. He was in one of the Terminators. He plays like Kyle Reese in one of the new Terminators and stuff. Yeah, no, I thought the Coreys were good. I thought all the actors playing the Coreys were good. Young Corey's wigs were a little out of control at times, but otherwise I thought they were all right.
I think Corey Haim looks super young. Like, the teen one, he looked 16 to me. Like, that kid could have been 16. I'm sure he was 18 or something, but, like, the baby face worked really well. And Corey Feldman, too. Like, he looked really young. So, like, if that's what I'm basing this on, I'm like, yeah. They look like teenagers. It's not egregious like we've seen in some other things, so I'm fine with it.
All right, let's grade the film. We don't really stick to report cards too much when it's the Lifetime movies. It's also hard to Rotten Tomatoes. There's an NA because critics don't rate Lifetime movies for whatever reason.
Yes, because they are cowards. Richard Roper, I'm talking to you.
75% by the audience, but.
75%, that's huge.
Because it's like a best of the worst type situation, though. Like, that's how I'm grading it.
It's only 50 people, but still,
oh my god, that's it?
Yeah, people don't really go out of there because you just consume Lifetime movies. You don't critique Lifetime movies. We're the only people doing that right now.
Yeah. Very, very few people in the world actually talk about a Lifetime movie. Beyond, did you see it?
There is a letterbox page for it, which I was surprised. Not every Lifetime movie gets one.
No.
2.1 out of 5 on Letterboxd there. So not great.
Snobs.
Not great. But
Snobs.
Yes, Letterboxd people are definitely not watching Lifetime movies like with like with an eye for a good grade. So but whatever. What do we want to grade A Tale of Two Coreys?
I give it 3.5 bathroom lines out of 5.
Wow.
That's high praise because those lines were huge.
Yeah, exactly. I think that there's a lot of good in here. I wish they would have gone a little wackier. They kind of kept it. They tried to like rein it in too much for me. Like they tried to like stick in reality, and I think that's where I was hoping that it got crazier. Like you're right. There's things that I loved, like the drug faces. Like let's make the textbook drug face of the drug that we talk about right now. That's great, but they should have leaned into that more. And if it would have, it would have gone up a point in my book. Well, one line. It would have gone up a line in my book.
How about you, Mike?
I'm right around there. I think I'll give it the same grade, but I feel like I have a different sort of like view. Like I don't feel like they could have gone. Like I feel like they went far, but like I haven't seen as many Lifetime movies as you guys.
Yeah.
Well,
so
this is nothing.
Oh, if this is nothing, then fuck. Like, what were they holding back for? Like, give me a break then at that point, Because it seemed like a lot to me, okay? Like I said, the only thing missing was like a murder or some blood on someone's hands, like people in hospitals and stuff. Like, I feel like if you do more, you're off Lifetime. Now you're on Cinemax or something like HBO. Yeah, like because you got to start dropping F-bombs, showing nudity.
Oh, in that way, yeah. But
implying a way.
No,
but
in Lifetime wackiness, it could have gotten way wackier without getting raunchier.
Well, I suppose, right? Like, they kind of hit all the bases, though. Prison, rehab, hospital, ODs, Yeah, like, I think they did a really good job with what they could. I just feel like what more could you have done with this material? I don't know that they could have really amped up the zaniness and maybe just sort of portraying more famous people. Like I would have liked to have seen that, like I said with the Tom Hanks guy and think make less Michael Jackson, maybe, more Sean Austin. I don't know, but like just sort of mix it up a little more in that way, yeah.
Brian, do you think on the scale of Lifetime movies that this was zany or no? Because Mike, like, obviously hasn't watched as many Lifetime movies as I try to make you watch. How do you feel about that?
No, this definitely wasn't on the zany side, and that's because it is a true story. But Mike, I know your perspective as well, so that's why you guys have the same score and came at it a very different way, and that's good.
Yes.
That's good. I like that. I'm gonna be simple here. I'm gonna give it 2 out of 2 Coreys. That's it.
Okay. Oh, yeah. You dick. Very well played. I agree.
All right. So what does your A Tale of Two Coreys sleeping bag look like?
Oh, man. I think I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but it's got to be big enough for 2 Coreys.
Damn. I'm not going to beat that. Oh, man.
I got it. It has to be like a Michael Jackson Thriller sleeping bag.
That's cool too.
Yeah, Michael Jackson bag.
Yes.
Mine is just gonna have a bunch of 2s all over it.
Just the number 2?
Yeah.
Just Joe 2. Just my face.
Because of all of its relation to the Coreys.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh wow. So this movie really was for you. No, I'm thinking like that gold 2 necklace, the gold 222 necklace he had.
Okay, the 22. I see.
Dude, no.
The sacred
How about
2.
this? An all black sleeping bag, but just like the necklace is on the sleeping bag, just around the neck, so it looks like you're wearing it when the sleeping bag's zipped up.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because he was even wearing that as an adult, if you notice in the movie.
Yeah, he was. Like, as an old man, he still had the 222 necklace on.
Another thing I wrote in relevance to that, and I was like, should I say it? But I'll say it. I was like, is it really a lucky number for you, Corey Haim? Have you really lived a lucky life?